Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tatchen, and today we'll still continue with more chapter past exam questions, and so we'll look at some end of chapter question for chapter 2. We already did that for chapter 1 sometime last week. This last month, this is just a continuation of what I've already done before, so just more extensive questions, particularly from just recent exams. So to begin with, we'll start go in right away. The first question, this is the end of chapter 2 question. So someone reached out and it was like, we should look into these questions because there are no answers there. But the first one is state one suitable application for each of the following printers. So you are asked to give a different application for each of them, so you don't give the same application for both. So the first is an inkjet printer. One of very common application of inkjet printer is printing product labels, and for a 3D printer it's used in medicine and many other applications, maybe in engineering to print 3D objects. So for in case of medicine, they will use it to print medical devices. And the other part of the question says we should name another type of printer and describe one way in which it is different from the two printers named in part A. So basically you can just name a printer and you describe that printer. Definitely in those, focus on parts where it's different from these two. Typically you take a laser print. I took a laser printer, for instance. It's a very common kind of printer. You find it almost every office you go to. So basically this one uses laser light for printing on paper. So this is a very clear difference between the other printers. It also has very fast printout, quick print rate. That's why they use them in offices, and it can handle very large printout jobs. That's why they use it in places like printing presses and the rest. So, and the products or whatever printout it comes, they are very consistently of high quality. So these are some very important printer features of laser printer. You just need to give 3 points and you should get all your marks. And the next question is just us. You have to try to match these different items: inkjet printer, LCD screen, 3D printer, digital projector, and laser printer to the appropriate description. And I'll always say these are easy 3 marks. You shouldn't lose. You can start by what you know, eliminate what you know, and then you can move to, you might find out that what you know will help you to eliminate and find you're left over with things that you don't maybe if you don't clearly know them, you can always easily guess now from there. But without said, read well, try to know as much as you can. But we just start with inkjet printer. So inkjet, it has to deal with what? Ink. So that's why I picked droplets of ink I injected on the sheet of paper. It's a printer, so that's what happens. LCD screen, definitely display. You use a screen for what? To see what you're doing. So a screen is an output device, so a display uses. So, and then we look at 3D printer. We've talked about 3D printer in the previous question. It produces solid objects using what? CAD software. What is CAD? CAD is computer aided design. So to use a 3D printer, what you do is you have to use a CAD software. You design whatever you want to design, you feed it into the system or memory of the 3D printer, and it's able to convert this 3D drawing into a physical object. So that's what happens. And then for a digital projector, we're looking at image. So this is just like an enhanced or enlarged screen or display. Image from a source is magnified and shown on the large screen. So that's it. And typically the last thing is laser printer, which is an electrically charged powder toner is melted onto paper, and laser light and all those things also come into play. And for this one too, this also a very group of questions for 10 marks, till end of chapter questions. I didn't particularly pick out the numbers, but you'll find these questions at the end of chapter 10 in the textbooks by Graham Brown and by Graham Brown for the IGCSE ICT. So I wouldn't want to go through everything, but the answers are all there. The first one just says a matrix of filled in dark squares on a light background. It's read using a smart camera or tablet using an app. It's very common now. QR codes, you just have these dark brown lines, not is a matrix of filled in dark squares. It is not lines are the barcodes, but the squares it's what gives you a QR code. And then we also have a device that can read marks written in pen or pencil. The pens or pen marks must be in correct position. That's the optical mark reader. So you want marks, a device that can read marks. So you should know that you're really dealing with something that can read. It's a mark reader. So remember, we have an optical mark reader and we have a optical character recognition device. So be careful with these two different input devices, direct input devices. Another thing is an input device that takes physical readings from the surrounding and sends the data back to a computer. It's what a sensor, right? The sensor, you use it to take physical reading from the surrounding and you send it back into the computer. Physical. So what you could say a microphone, but the physical here is what distinguishes it, makes it a sensor. Now we also have an input device that converts sound into electrical signals that can be stored digitally on a computer. What I'm using is a microphone. Okay, I'm using a microphone now to talk, so that's the ideal answer. And then we also have a device that converts a photograph or document into computer readable file, scanner, so you can scan photograph into computer readable files. And the device used to control the operation of other electronic devices using infrared signal, remote control. So a remote control, if you check the front of a remote control, you should find a bulb or a light that you can't see with your visible eye. What you should try to do is maybe turn on your the camera, use the camera of your phone, turn on your remote and view it from the camera. You should be able to see a blue or purple kind of light. That's the infrared. And then a direct data entry device that uses radio waves to read and capture information stored on an electronic tag. That's the RFID. That's radio frequency identification reader. So it's used to what? Read and capture. So it should be RFID reader. A device that produces very high quality hard copy output uses dry ink, cartridges, and an electrically charged drum laser printer. So that is things you should know. A device that prints by impacting a print head. Impacting, so that's your keyword, the impact printer or dot matrix printer. So a dot matrix printer is an impact printer, you should know that. Then a pointing device that moves around on a surface in XY direction to control a cursor on a computer screen. You should know that. Mouse. Now the next question says describe how a QR reader works. These are like the more technical questions which you should watch out for. What are QR codes used for? Give 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages of using QR codes. A touch screen can be used as both input device and output device. Explain how this is possible. I will start with the first one. Here are the answers. When they say describe how a QR reader works, now we know how a QR code is dark squares filled in. So to describe how it works, the QR code reader works, first of all, you should know that you need a phone camera or whatever, a tablet or whatever camera through the app. So there's always an app you need to use, or some phones have been engineered or software of the camera is such that when you point it on the QR code, next the app is able to capture and processes the image of the QR code using some specific algorithms which you don't need to worry about. The device reads the generated data automatically. So once these algorithms are able to decode this image, it's able to generate data automatically, and if it's a website, it opens up that website for you or redirects you to that website. If it has to give you access to something, that is exactly what happens. So that's basically how a QR code would work. Then when you talk about uses, you can use them for advertisements. Most companies, they use for advertisement. You use to encrypt links to apps or website with Wi-Fi authentication. Some people use it for advertisement, for surveys. You just scan a QR code and you can contribute to a survey. So those are some kind of things, or make payments. Advantages: QR codes can hold more information than barcodes. So that's one thing you should know. QR codes and barcodes, they're kind of almost the same, but QR codes can hold more information. Another advantage are fewer errors than normal barcodes, and then easy to transmit as text or images. So those are some advantages. And disadvantages: too many formats, exists for QR code, so it's kind of easy to confuse. Can be used to transmit malicious code, so that's a problem. Just scanning a code which you don't actually know what is at the back of that code, you could easily get malicious code into your device, so that's a problem. Now they say we're talking about a touchscreen can be used as both an input device and an output device. Explain how this is possible. Yes, so the thing is, a touchscreen has what it incorporates an interactive display and input screen, so it has an interactive display and an input screen. So that's one thing. It has a screen with option to select from by tapping, so that is why it's used as an input and an output device. The screen is big enough for viewing and reading options, so that's the duality of a touch screen. The next question now, still end of chapter 2 question. Give a use for each of the following input and output devices. You should know all these answers: keyboard, typing, data entry, driving wheel or joystick, gaming, QR code reader, reading QR code, barcode reader, reading barcodes, microphone, input sound. You can use a microphone to input sound like I'm doing now, speech, video conferencing. When you're over a call, you use a microphone. Touch screens, ATM, point of sale terminals. That's where you find POS means point of sale terminals. That's where you find touch screens. And then 3D printer. They are used to produce hard copy 3D card drawings. We'll send that to the dot matrix printer. They are used to print till receipts. What till receipts are? This long receipt. I don't know if you've seen it. Many of you now wouldn't know those things, but in years back and some places now they still use those till the very long receipt. You find them. And one thing is they also use a noisy or dirty environment like garages, offices, industrial settings, those kind of things. And then RFID is used. They can use them for livestock tracking. So people who have livestock, they usually put RFID chips into them so that they can track their livestock. And then chip and pin reader, typically you find them in restaurants, supermarkets. That's where they use this kind of devices. And the next question says a home is fitted with a microprocessor controlled burglar alarm system. It is not connected to a police station, so you have a burglar alarm system, but that burglar alarm system is not connected to any police station, because ideally you want that when you give a signal, the police should pick it up and know that it's coming from your home, but that's not the case. Now they want you to take 3 sensors which will be used in such a system. So how do you connect it, or what sensors can be used in the burglar alarm system? That's what you should just know. What is a burglar alarm? Is to detect. So it's important you know what the burglar alarm does. It's to detect what theft, unauthorized entry, and all those things. So a pressure sensor. So you can have that if there's a change in pressure, depending on how it's made, it signals. Then you can also have sound sensor. Maybe everywhere is quiet and somebody suddenly makes noise. It should signal. The camera should capture something. Then infrared sensor, those kind of thing too. You can have touch sensor. You might also have that. Yeah. So those are different answers that. I mean, just think about it. If you have such a system, how will you best program it? And yeah. The next thing is past exam questions. Whether the following statement are true or false. Answer to multiple choice examination papers can be read using an optical mark reader. So is it true? Is it false? Answers to a multiple choice exam paper can be read using an optical mark reader or MR. It's true. A pin is stored on the magnetic stripe on a credit card. That's not true. The chip on a credit card is ready. It's read by a pin reader. That's true. An RFID chip can be used to track stock. Yes, we mentioned that before. Next question. Now these questions are from recent exam 2023. So this is question 12. Paper 1, 2, question 1, February, March 2023. So the first question: tick the device which produces hard copy. You should know this: laser printer. Definitely. Some computers have touch screens. Describe 3 benefits of using a touch screen. Easy marks, easy go. Quick to select options, has small footprint, improve hand-eye coordination, allows the user to zoom in and pinch, all those kind of things. Those are the advantages I want you to list. Identify the most appropriate hardware from the descriptions given below. So this is a May, June 2023 paper 1-3, question 2. Now they say an internal hardware component that connects a computer to a local area network. A computer hardware component, so it connects to a network interface card. We learned this. An internal device that retains a computer data even after the computer is turned off, back in storage. An input device that is attached to a monitor, touch screen. So those are some answers. Aside that, we also have this one. Now this question is part B of a question which talks about students designing a newsletter or something, but this part says the students have decided to use a smartphone data for the newsletter will be input, stored and output by the smartphone. So they are basically trying to design or create a newsletter, but now they're using they are telling us they're using a smartphone for it. But they want us to identify two devices that are part of the smartphone that could be used to input the data for the newsletter. Input devices. You can use a camera, they can take pictures and add to their newsletter. They can use the touch screen to type. They could also use the microphone maybe to, so that's another input device. Microphone maybe to type, there's audio to text, speech to text typing. They could also do that. Now they also say identify two devices that are part of the smartphone that could be used to output data from the newsletter: the speaker, the screen. And then identify two appropriate devices that could be used to store data for the newsletter. They could use an SD card, they could use a flash card or flash memory, they could use the internal storage. Maybe the card has this should be wrong, it shouldn't be HDD. For when we talk about smartphones only have smartphones have SSD, not HDD, so this is a mistake from my part. But internal storage should be strictly SSD. I misread that question, so it should be strictly internal storage SSD for smartphones. If it was a computer, it could probably have the HDD, a desktop. Now they said describe the role of the CPU in processing instructions to produce and output. Let me just change it so that I don't forget. So this is going away, so that is it. The next question says computers contain a central processing unit. Describe the role of the CPU in processing instructions to produce an output. So it's the brain. How does it do that? That's what I'm asking you. What does it do to process instructions to produce output? For instance, you say 1 + 1 on your computer. How is that done? That is what they want you to do. 4 marks. So 4 points, you get 4 marks. First of all, you should know that the CPU controls the input and output devices. Without the brain, it's like your brain somehow controls what you say and what you take in. So that is what I'm indirectly telling you. Also controls the movement of data within the computer. Yes, the CPU controls which information should be sent out, which information should come in, which information should be need processing. It also retrieves instructions. So when you give it instructions, or it goes to retrieve instructions for a program that is being executed, it retrieves data from memory. It also decodes this instruction. So when it retrieves, it decodes, and when it decodes, it carries out necessary calculations and comparisons if needed. It also makes logical decisions. So there are a lot of points you could get, you could give, but you need just 4. And the next question is desktop computers use input and output devices. State 2 input devices that can be used in a desktop computer for working at home. First, keyboard, mouse, touchscreen, microphone, and many others. And then the next one, state 2 output devices that can be used in a desktop computer for working at home. Very practical, very easy questions you should catch. This is a 2024 question. And you could say a printer, that's an output device. A monitor, you need to see what you're doing, so it's a output device. Projector, you could project whatever you're doing so that you see it on a larger screen. Speakers, you could play a sound or read some of these documents that this program that can read your text to you, and that's a way of output. Now the next question is compare optical mark readers with optical character reader. That's May June 2023 question. Your answer must include what similarities and differences. So whenever you see compare means what are our similarities, what are our differences. So you should always have this in mind. If it's 6 marks, you can give 3 points, or you can give 4 3, but don't give you can give 4 2, but don't give 5 1. You will not get all the marks. So but very often the safe bet is 3 points. So any of these 3 points should give you your marks. Both read data very quickly, both read data using optical method, optical mark reader, optical character reader. So they are both optical, or they use light. Both use direct data entry, so they are both direct data entry device. Both are what input devices. Differences: OMR does not need to read the characters only the marks. OMR is unable to recognize machine or hand printed characters, so that's a problem. For OMR to read, marks need to be what within a specific area. So these are things you should know. Then the next question says you identify 2 uses of optical mark recognition: lottery tickets, barcodes, QR codes. You'll find them there. Multiple choice questions, questionnaires, and all those forms, marking multiple choice questions or questionnaires, those kind of things. So I know I rushed over it, but you can take your time, go over it. Just more questions for you to use for your revision. And yeah, that is it for this chapter. And yeah, so whatever I'm said here, you can find it in this textbook, or you can go online. IGCSE past papers, mark schemes. You should find even more information, more data, and to help you prepare better, to help improve your knowledge. So see you in the next video, and like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.